Dear black man, can y'all forgive us for getting it wrong? Can y'all forgive us for getting it wrong? Can y'all forgive us for being ignorant and not knowing what to do, not knowing how to love y'all, not knowing how to support y'all, not knowing how to be there to encourage y'all, giving up on y'all? Can y'all forgive us for that? For taking and playing mind games and just doing the unthinkable. Can y'all forgive us for that? Because we not perfect. We all been played. We all gotta take a L. And once we all take our lick, then we'll be able to really heal. Christ has to be the center of our foundation.
I am really loving this whole soft life era that we're in right now, specifically for Black women, because I feel like for so long we've carried the cape of strong Black woman because that's the title that the world has given us, and we endured whatever weights came with that title. And I feel like now we're finally getting to the place to where we're putting that weight and that cape down, and we're resting in the feminine energy that God created us to rest in, and we're seeing and receiving the rewards and benefits of living a soft life. And I love it here. I might actually make a YouTube video about this because I never want to go back to the strong, independent Black woman life. It ain't for me. It's very much ghetto. It's given slavery. No.
I'm sorry that you feel unloved. I'm sorry that you feel devalued. I'm sorry that you feel like your dreams and ambitions were stolen from you. I'm sorry for the people that have used and abused you. I'm sorry that you feel like your opinions don't matter. I'm sorry that you feel like people don't see the greatness in you. I'm sorry that people have made fun of you. I'm sorry that people have talked behind your back and laughed in your face.
So I got on my flight today, and everyone seated around me just had surgery. They didn't know each other. Remember, ladies, if you're getting a BBL, don't forget about the flight home. Pack something comfy for your knees.
Put y'all on. I will tell y'all, get y'all the juice, because before you start using the juice, your booty don't clap. And then after you start using it, your booty start clapping. I'm gonna show you right now. You ready? Dear Black man, I just want to apologize for every woman that ever disrespected you, called you out of your name, for every mother who gave you away or made you feel abandoned, for every woman who turned your children against you, for the children who disrespected you. I want to apologize for the love that you don't receive. I want to apologize for the hate that you do get that you don't deserve. I want to apologize for people not allowing you to make mistakes. I want to apologize for you being judged before you even open your mouth. I want to apologize for people punishing you just for the color of your skin. I want to apologize for people punishing you just for being a man and never allowing you to just be a human. Whether you are in jail or at the top of your game, I want to apologize and tell you that I sincerely love you. And if nobody told you, you are amazing, talented, gifted, blessed, and so very needed in this world.
So the girls was mad at me because I said I live the soft life. And y'all came for me, but I prayed for this man. I prayed for the type of husband I wanted, from the character, his life with God, his height, the chocolate skin. This is what I wanted in a man. I wanted somebody that we can both help each other. Our roles are 50-50. He helps me, I help him. I love him as much as he loves me. Nobody loves each other more. We are that. So I wanted somebody that's going to be there for our kids, somebody that's going to treat me like a princess, pump my gas, give me cookies when it's that time of the month, somebody that's going to deliver flowers, open doors, help around with the house when I need them. And I do the same for him. I show up in every way because we love each other. Yes, we wear the matching pajamas because we're that type of family. We match him in every way and we take those pictures. And I love my husband and I couldn't ask for anything more because I pray for him. Have fun.
Sorry that the people that you have protected and will give your last breath for have done you so wrong and have left you when you needed them the most. I'm sorry that you are continuously targeted and killed on a daily basis. I'm sorry that your spirituality has not been enough to keep you afloat. I'm sorry that you had to prove yourself in school. I'm sorry that you had to prove yourself and not be accepted as a black man. I'm sorry that you've had to continuously prove yourself on a job. I'm sorry that you have had to prove yourself to your woman. I'm sorry that you have had to prove yourself to your children. I'm sorry that the ones that you looked out for the most have not valued you. I'm sorry that you walk around every day with a broken heart. I'm sorry that your mother and father were not there for you.
I have proudly accepted my role as a tenderoni, and I take it very seriously.
It doesn't apply to me. I live a soft life. I am a thing.
I'm sorry that our country sees you as 3/5 of a man. I'm sorry that the ones you call brother have turned their backs on you when you needed them the most. Black man, for all the hurt and pain that society and those that you care about have caused you, I am sorry. I love you. We need you. You matter. You deserve respect. I love you, Black.
Wanting to live a soft life, I don't think you're lazy. I think you've been living in your masculine energy.
The moment I started dating men who actually wanted to be men, and I left behind the men who wanted to be the bad bitch in the relationship, my life changed drastically, like instantly. I met a guy last year who put me on 4 planes during the summertime. I've never experienced that. He's helped me change the numbers in my bank account. And he's made it to where I now work because I want to, not because I have to. Moral of the story, get you a man who wants to be an asset in your life, not a liability.
She might not have told you this, but my daughters do not respect men. So I'm letting you know that now, and I'm not joking when I tell you that, brother. And they have mouths when it comes to them getting into disagreements and engagements with men, and they will verbally put some lashes on you, brother, because they don't respect men. I'm just giving it to you forefront, brother, so you know what you're going in.
Yo. Welcome, family, to another edition of the No-Go Zone. I am your good brother, Professor Carl Tone Jones, and it is another Monday. Now, I don't expect us to fill up the house tonight because, hey, it's Labor Day, so people are going to be outside barbecuing, drinking, and partying with the family. So it's all good, but we're going to still rock like we rock anyway and do what we do. So I want to thank, who's here in the building. I want to thank my good brother, Eric Jackson. Appreciate you, King. Thank you for following us onto the new channel. Hopefully we can continue to build and pick up the momentum like we had on the other channel. And as always, my beautiful beloved, Mila Renee is in the building. Peace and love to you, baby. So yeah, that was kind of rough. That was kind of a rough segment to go through. And I put that compilation together because I think it's very important to understand the days and the times that we're dealing with regarding relationships concerning Black people. It seems to be a lot of chaos going on. And I forgot to turn my little fan on. It's kind of hot in here, y'all. So y'all a little buzz in the background, man. Hey, listen, it's hot, B. It's hot. You know what I mean? It's more so like a little lightly humid. It's like 83 degrees here tonight, but it got a little breeze going. But I think we're supposed to get some rain tonight. So we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, family, what's going on? So this particular topic tonight, we're going to talk about. It really speaks to some interesting occurrences that we've been seeing lately. We've sort of, as black men, we've been going through the ringer in regards to, turn this a little loud, in regards to, the things, the stereotypes, the typecasting, as you will, as villains in our community, the way we've been treated, disregarded by most of society, but especially our women. Over the last decade or so, it's become one of those things where it's become profitable. Many people have found ways to make tremendous gains in destroying the images of black men. And so I think it's very interesting now that we see in this particular day and age, we see a change that's occurring within the sisterhood. And it's funny how these changes, they seem to be a little trendy, right? Well, from the strong black woman, right? Independent, I don't need no man. Beyonce was singing the anthem ever since the early 2000s. All the single ladies to the left, you know what I'm saying? You're replaceable. And sort of like that stigma is stuck. Even if you go back to the 90s with TLC and talking about how they don't want any scrubs. I don't want no scrubs. And then you go back a little earlier than that, and I can't remember the sister's name, but you got to have a J-O-B if you want to be with me. Ain't no romance without finance. So, we have had a lot of we've had the film, the cinema. I mean, we can go back to The Color Purple and the color purpling of black men, as it's been recently described. We can go to, Waiting to Exhale. I mean, damn near every Tyler Perry movie, every movie that was produced by Oprah Winfrey, it always had black men as abusive, black men as womanizers, black men not being strong elders or statesmen of the community and so forth. We've had to deal with all those things. There's always had to be a villain in the movie. Even in a recent Harriet Tubman movie, right? Created a mythical black boogeyman, you know what I'm saying, as this bounty hunter. And, you read through all of Harriet Tubman's memoirs, there was never a discussion of black people trying to hunt her down. So, and definitely not a black man, what I'm saying, trying to hunt her down. There was no stigma behind that. So, we've been hearing these things. And then lately with the pink pill community and so forth. And for many of you who don't know, that is a community of sisters who, you know what I'm saying? Oh, brother, we can go back to the beginning of all that. You know what I mean? Birth of a Nation and so forth. Yes, we can go back to a lot of that. We've had to be, we've been called, black men have been defeated. We're defeated because, we're the lowest ranks in the lowest ranks of men. You know what I'm saying? We're disposable. Because, since the 60s, black women, a large percentage of black women have taken union with the state in regards to state benefits and things of that nature. And those things meant that, you had to choose between that and disconnecting from your man. And unfortunately, a lot of sisters chose that route. All right. We got to be honest about that. We talk about the fact that, black men have been identified as bullet bags because due to police brutality and white vigilantism, what I'm saying, black men have been sort of like the face of police brutality and police terrorism. There was some sisters who actually, I showed you on the last channel, where sisters were actually talking about how masculine, and how turned on they got by watching white police officers brutalize black men. The list goes on. There's this push that black men don't build. And because of these things, the sisters stated that, black women couldn't rest in their femininity, that they had to take on a masculine role in the community and so forth because there were no men. All right. We said that the black women said that they had no protection from the rest of the world because, black men had abandoned them, which, we're going to get into that in a little bit. And now we get to the place where, black women say due to all that, they could never fully rest in their true divine femininity. Now, you watched the video that I played previously to, airing tonight's show, and peace and power, Sister Naki. I appreciate you, beloved. One of the things we're going to get into tonight's show is the fact that those things, misnomers. I mean, the video we played before, showed that now there's new push to, and it's funny how this is called the soft era, right? So black women no longer want to be single, strong, and independent. They want to come along. They want to be received as being soft. So they're sort of like adopting a more soft and feminine nature, right? You saw taking bubble baths and doing yoga, eating fruit and healthy foods, exercising and things of that nature, But what did you see with the women that had, got their men? Like the women that had men in that particular video. You saw women who wanted to be treated like princesses. Women I was talking about, they had prayed for a man like this, how he made their lives easier. We're talking about black men and how these black men, have sort of like given them the opportunity to live a softer life, right? Now, in some of the other videos, you had parts of the video, you had black women apologizing, but they never really apologized for the roles of black women. They apologized for things society did to black people. They apologized for white supremacy, things that are beyond their control. But in terms of apologizing for, what was going on with black people, with black men at the hands of black women, things that black women are directly related to, you saw very little accountability. So these were sort of empty apologies. Then in addition to that, all the other things that we are dealing with, in our, as black men, we're still dealing with the ratchetness of women wanting to twerk. We're still dealing with the twerk publicly speaking. We're still dealing with the ratchetness of women going overseas and trying to take shortcuts in terms of building their bodies up by getting these BBLs and making, doctors in Miami rich and making, pseudo doctors in the Dominican Republic rich, and then coming back looking disfigured. They can't even sit down on the airplanes. They literally have to lay down face first in the airplane for an entire flight on their knees, and then lined up in wheelchairs and so forth. So we're dealing with all these different things. Sisters still out there doing these crazy sexual challenges, which speaks to actually is sort of like an insult as a man that, a lot of the women feel as though they can sort of like snap us back into place by, putting sexual lures out there as if that's all that it takes to actually acquire a man. No, that's all it takes to acquire a man that wants to smash. But that's not what it necessarily takes to get a quality man. And typically, we have women talking about the high value men. So in other words, the majority of black men have been invisible to these women to this day. This is why they can identify most black men as being these man whores, or most black men being this, being that, when that's simply not the case. The majority of black men are invisible to black women because the majority of men that they want are in the top 15 to 20%. So 80 to 85% of black men are pretty much invisible to women. And see, this is not just in the black community. This is throughout all of, the communities combined. So when you understand that 30% of men are virgins well into their 30s, all right? These are the guys you see working in bookstores. These are the guys you see sweeping up at Walmart and the supermarkets. These are the guys who are just walking around, you know what I'm saying, and nondescript. There's nothing impressive to the eye, aesthetically to the eye. These men don't have jobs. They don't drive fancy cars. They don't have the typical things women look for in a hypergamous society, right? As I welcome my sister Rose and our good brother Joe to the building. What's going on, family? What's going on, family? So it's really important that, you understand these numbers, right? So the majority of men are not out here sleeping around. Why? I just told you 30% of men, including black men, are virgins into their 30s, right? And this was even made like it was mocked in a movie called The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Y'all remember The 40-Year-Old Virgin, right? Keep that image in mind and think to yourself, how many men are actually living that life? Think about all the men who have totally signed off on becoming, interested in women. You know what I'm saying? In regards to being sex, because they realized they would have to pay for sex. So these men go out and they indulge into electronics. They become parts of these little, that's why they have all these crazy conventions and shit. Dudes be orcs and wizards and all sorts of things, because that's that takes on their interest. It takes them away from their sexual interest in women. All over the place. That's why Comic-Con is so famous. What 40-year-old man interested in women would be into comic books like that, to be dressing up in his favorite comic figure and going to these damn comic festivals and so forth, and into the games that they're playing there. Come on, man. Come on. Then you got another 30% of black men who are married with families. Now, some of these guys, they do have children outside of their marriage. That's true. But for the most part, they're married with their family. So you got that. And then you take into account that 54% of black men are single without children. Yet and still, the entire community of black men are always blamed for the fact that there's so many baby mamas. And I find it very interesting that in a community that rejects, in a community that rejects the whole notion of polygamy, that so many women are sharing so few men. You have about 20%, and I'll be generous, 20 to 25% of men responsible for the 80% of children born in single women households. You know what I'm saying? So we really have to digest and dive deep into what this is. Some of the women that was in that particular video talked about being princesses and things of that nature. That speaks to the fact that too many of our women do not mature. Too many are stuck in an arrested development. And there's psychological studies that show that a lot of women their emotional maturity stops at the age in terms of which they start receiving, sexual attention from men. You know what I'm saying? So we really have to understand what's going on here. So now we have this soft movement now. It's taking place. This isn't new, by the way. These videos that you see sisters doing out here talking about how they're tired of being single and independent, and they're tired of being ruggedly individual, and they want to fall back to a family first and foremost. The most of the sisters that are doing this are older sisters that have passed 30, the age of 30, which in terms of, for what we speak, that's the wall. Most of these women have children, and I've often stated that women will have children for the men that they desire, but they want to marry a man that they feel as though will be the best father figure, the best provider for that child and for the rest of the family. Let's just look at the celebrities, because that's typically what we draw a lot of these conclusions from. But in this particular case, and typically that's off, but in this particular place, this particular scenario, it fits. Sierra. Everybody's talking about Sierra's prayer, right? And when you look at Sierra's prayer, Sierra talked about not wanting to be hurt no more, not wanting to pain no more, she talked about all the things she wanted. In other words, she wanted an easier life than the one that she was dealt based on the decisions she had made and the men she chose to be with. Last of not least was Future. And this is not to jump on Future and things of that nature, but she wanted to procreate with Future. She could have procreated with any of the other men she was with, but she chose Future. Why? Because Future was the one that that had the masculine energy that she wanted to project or to carry on a generation for. That was who she wanted to create a legacy for. But she recognized in Future that he would be a terrible father figure because Future's track record was getting women pregnant and leaving them there. So she had to pray for a man to clean up a messy situation. That man became Russell Wilson. And because Russell Wilson was the man that helped her clean up her image, to help her look more pristine than she did before, she rewarded Russell Wilson with a child. But Russell Wilson had to work so much harder to get at Sierra than a Future would have, than a 50 Cent would have, than any of the other guys that she dated, the rappers, athletes, and so forth, the superstars that she dated before. You see what I mean? The good guy, the so-called quote-unquote good guy waiting at the end of the road, he had to go through all these different versions. So he had to get her after she made all these different pit stops in which she was emotionally damaged, physically damaged, and spiritually damaged. So he didn't get her fresh off the assembly line. She had to go through some shit. In other words, if we were talking about cars, and he wasn't necessarily clean either, because, he just came out of a marriage with a white woman. Pretty sure that throw a monkey wrench in anybody's situation. So you have two used cars coming together, but he had significantly less damage on him than she had on her, significantly less mileage on him than she had on her. And that's why you hear so many women today talking about that they want a Sierra situation, that so many women hopelessly dreaming about a Sierra reprisal. One sister was talking about on the video that I showed previously, and welcome, Sister Crystal. Appreciate you here coming into the building. One of the sisters in the video that I showed previously stated that, when she finally decided to deal with a man, that he put money in her bank account, flew her out 4 times, and this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking to myself, how many other men, quality men, did you have to go through? Or how many other types of men did you have to go through before you got to the quality men? And so it speaks to something that's very, very interesting. The question I have, this new push now for femininity, can these women who have been ruggedly individual for all this time, who have been masculine in nature for all this time, who have been adversaries to the men in their community for all this time, can they just snap their fingers like Thanos and then just instantly morph into a feminine woman? I find it very peculiar that a lot of women say that they can just go into this place and become feminine after being, masculine for all this time. Is it to say, as a football player, as soon as I take off the uniform and things of that nature, I can just, I don't have to resort to that, primal mentality that allows me to succeed and thrive on the football field? That's true, but those guys have been doing that their entire lives. They've been taking that uniform off their entire lives. For the sisters in the sisterhood that have adorned that armor of being masculine for decades, you can't just snap your finger and become feminine. You can for a while, but eventually you can't hold on. And that's why you have a lot of women trying to rush the new guy into marriage and getting them tied up and things of that nature. And those marriages don't even last. A lot of those marriages fall apart within the first 2 years. So what we have is women saying that they can have conditional femininity. I find it odd because men can't have conditional masculinity. We need to be full masculine from day one. In other words, on our first date, when we go out or the first time we meet in public, if there's an issue where there's a threat involved, I can't say, well, I don't know whether I'm going to be masculine today and protect you and keep you safe in this particular situation. I can't say, oh, you know what? It's going to take me some time to get masculine. Either I'm masculine or I'm not. And that shows up relatively quickly. But for a lot of our women, masculinity starts in the bedroom. It was a funny video. There's an elder, somebody's grandmother. They do a lot of videos on like Instagram and TikTok and so forth. And I actually think they're exploiting this woman, but it's funny as hell. And it's like an old woman that just, she got nothing to lose. And I think she's probably suffering from some form of dementia, but she randomly blurts out certain things and sort of like comes back in line, like when she gathers her senses and so. And she was talking about how there's no if you can't get good D from a man, there's no need to be with him. And the only reason that you should be with a man is if you can get good D from him. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, she's probably well into her 70s, maybe even her 80s. Is that the baseline for women? And I've long drawn off that. So, but I want to also talk about some other things, because this whole soft girl movement that's taking place, like I said, it's not new. Unfortunately, Black women who have followed the feminism and the liberal politics, social politics of white feminists are sort of like 20 years behind white women. Like they're 20 years, between 10 and 20 years behind white women in terms of their social evolution in regards to their relationship to men. And I said this before, and kind of pissed me off that YouTube took down my other channel, because I had the foresight to take those videos with me, but I just never got to it. But I said on several of those videos in the past, one of the things that white women realize is their cries or their complaints, their feminist ideology, the ideals, fell flat on their face because white men didn't care. And what happened in the 80s and the 90s, when white women were like, I am woman, hear me roar, white men were like, cool. White men started venturing out. So you think the passport stuff that brothers are talking about today is new? No, white men started that trend. We're going back to like the 80s and the 90s. White men started, where do you think Keanu Reeves came from? Just to give you an idea. Keanu Reeves, his mother is Asian. White men started going to Asian women. They start going overseas to other nationalities or other ethnic groups of white women that weren't American or westernized. They start going into the Mediterranean community and started dating, Arabian women and so forth, which is why you have so many Iranian movie stars to this day in America. They pass them for white on the big screen, but they're really, Iranian women. They went to all those particular women because they could still produce children that kind of looked white. They weren't necessarily white, but they kind of looked white. They didn't start looking to black women until about 2010 or so forth, around that time, because it was still socially unacceptable. You know what I mean? They had fetishes, and I will argue to this day, it's still a fetish with black women. Just like it's a fetish for brothers to go with white women. White women fetishize black men and so forth. But what you see currently right now with the sisters that are talking about, divesting from the community and so forth, they're dealing with white men who are fetishizing about dealing with black women. So this whole soft movement, white women decided that they were going to get their men back. And if you go to YouTube and you look at the TED Talks, there's a whole catalog of videos of white women talking about ways they can get their men back, how they can start being softer. Hear what I'm saying? If you don't believe me, dig in the crates and look for yourself. How they could be softer, how they could be sexually more available to their men. They were learning sexual techniques. So they would have like little parties with sex toys, and they would talk about different techniques they would use on their men to become more alluring in the bedroom, to keep their men from going out and sleeping around and things of that nature. See, I know we get locked in the fact that we only think that it only happens in our community. No. We're part of a bigger society. You know what I'm saying? But what typically happens is we're behind the times. And so what happens in those communities typically happen to us. Now, and that's what you're seeing happening right now. Black women started talking crazy about they don't need black men. You remember, even as early as May, you had the little hot girl down there in Florida talking about, F nigga free, I'm F nigga free, I'm F boy free, I'm F nigga free, and they was hanging out of cars and they was twerking on 10-year-olds and things of that nature. All that shit died down in June. We didn't have a hot girl summer. We had a little sizzling spring, but we didn't have a hot girl summer. Now, there's several reasons behind that, but the two biggest ones, Roe versus Wade. The second one is the recession that hit. And I give it to Shahrazad Ali, because Shahrazad Ali was pretty on point. She said, black men, just be patient. When times get hard, black women will come around. And that's what we're seeing. See, this whole notion of women moving towards this soft movement is not a natural phenomenon. It didn't evolve naturally. It evolved from women getting their asses kicked out here trying to do the job of men. And in our community, our sisters try to compete with the men. They stick their chest out and they get rough and rugged and feel like they were going down to the boiler room with men to compete over the positions within a community. That's why we don't have gender roles and we don't do this and we don't do that. But all in all, but you started hearing whispers about it because women started complaining about the 50-50 men. Women started complaining about the 50-50 men in our community and so forth. And then complaining about the 50-50 men, a lot of our sisters, unfortunately, started revealing a few things. And one of the things they started revealing was the fact that they can't afford this price gauge, this price gouging that's going on. They can't afford the fact that food costs twice as much as it did at the beginning of the year. They can't afford the fact that gas is kicking everybody's ass. So all the sisters that went out and got Lexuses and BMWs and Mercedes Benzes and things of that nature, on the hottest days of the year, they driving around with the windows down. Ain't no AC in that shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's recognizing that, hey, maybe black men actually are worth something. Wait, we don't see black men out here complaining about the high cost of living. We don't see black men. In fact, black men are talking about buying passports and jumping on airplanes and shit. Black men are talking about moving and creating these business conglomerates. You got brothers that's talking about building cryptocurrency. You got brothers that's talking about merging, understanding the stock market, understanding the economy, understanding when to buy and when to sell. And you got brothers making moves right now. And sisters like, whoa. Because brothers are no longer saying, we have to make these moves for the entire community. Brothers are like moving on their own. And what happened was black men called black women's bluff. And it was reluctantly. Sisters, I need y'all to understand that. We were the last ones standing. When black women decide to abandon the black community in order to create their own demographic, because they thought that they would continuously get goodies from Goldman and Sachs. They would continue to get goodies from government grants, and they would continue to get goodies, from, these SBL, the Small Business Association loans and things of that nature. They didn't expect that shit to dry up. They lacked foresight. And what's happening now is brothers are like, oh, so now you're struggling. You just want to use us to get afloat. In other words, it doesn't come across as genuine. It comes across as cap. Let me tell y'all something. And what's not, when all else fails, sisters, women are starting to resort to sex because sex is what used to work in the past. Let me show y'all something as to why that's no longer a situation. So I'm not sure y'all can read this, but I'm going to read it for you. This was a text exchange through a brother and a lady that he took on a date. I'm going to read this to you so you just understand how much, and this is a conversation that's been going on with the brothers for decades now, but it's finally starting to become more talked about publicly because sisters have not held up to their end of the bargain in terms of being honorable and treating black men with dignity and respect publicly. Okay, so this stuff is starting to come out now more and more, and brothers are no longer holding back from being honest about these exchanges. So it reads, hey, I had a great time last night. Hope that we can do it again soon. And a bunch of winking and kissing emojis, right? And by the way, this is from Sister Celebrity. Celebrity be going for she dig deep in the crates and she gathers those receipts. So the brother responds, I wish I could say the same. I have to pass on meeting up again. I wish you all the best though. All right. So now the young sister, I don't know if it was a young sister or not. Sister says, are you playing with me? The brother responds, no, I am being honest. Last night was the last night. That is all. Okay. So clearly the brother is stating that he no longer wants to deal with this woman. And this goes back to something I've been trying to explain to a lot of sisters. And I think a lot of sisters have been living in delusion, by the way, in regards to this particular part of the conversation. What I'm trying to say about this is sisters will think because their inbox is popping, because their DMs are flowing, for some strange reason, sisters equate that to marriage proposals. And it ain't. It ain't even the same as a person committing to an to a relationship with you. What it is somebody who's sexually, physically interested in you, based probably on what you advertised in terms of your best qualities, and this is where it went. All right. But if the sex is not appeasing to the man, he's no longer sticking around. And this used to be a case where women got a bad D, we would call it a BDR, a bad D report, right? If women had one bad sexual encounter with a man, she would typically tell all her girlfriends and know that man is his sex game is trash in that particular area, in that town. He doesn't even get the interest anymore. Well, now the tables are turned because men are being more honest about their sexual experiences with women. And sisters, I keep trying to tell y'all, in terms of sex, the majority of women are terrible at sex. So sex is not enough to hold brothers anymore because too many sisters are giving it up without anything. You know what I'm saying? Too many sisters have, if sex was on the stock exchange, if a black woman's vagina was on the stock exchange right now, the shit would be bottoming out. It'd be a buyer's market. You know what I'm saying? Not a seller's market. It'd be a buyer's market because, too many women are giving it away and it's not worth anything anymore. So she stated, go back to the, wait, you're saying you don't want to see me again? You just wanted to have sex and that's it? His response was, the sex was mediocre. You hyped it up and left me disappointed. I don't want to waste any more of my time or yours. You're just not what you advertised. So as you can imagine, this shit went left. And I'm going to show you just how left it went. So her response was hilarious. You basically stalked me for weeks until I accepted the date. Now you're trying to bash me. My face card never declines and my body is on point. So if you're into men, just say that. And here we go, right? Here we go with the insults, right? Because if the man is not interested, he has to be gay. And this is, old hat right now. This shit doesn't even move men anymore. Like brothers don't even get moved by this because we know it's coming, right? So he said, laughing my ass off, LMAO. I don't say you don't take rejection well, huh? Now I like men because your sex game is weak. It's cool. Go ahead and insult me. You texted me first. Remember that. And an itch move would have been me asking for my $110 back that I spent to you last night. So, her response was, I will gladly give you your money back since you seem to need it so bad. I know my sex game is top tier. You just mad because you couldn't handle me. What's your cash app? And let me give you your money since that's the real reason you're talking to me like this. So it couldn't have been what he said originally about the sex game being trash. It couldn't have been that he was disappointed with the sex. It had to be something else. You see, and this is the thing that is troublesome, sisters, is that as men, when women ask for us to be honest, and when we are honest about what's going on, the relations and so forth, we're typically given, we're typically treated as though we have performed some type of violation. But when you ask for honesty and you receive honesty, it's like, what else are we supposed to do? Now, mature people would have just handled it. I understand. Boom. It wasn't a good experience for you. I'm going to keep it moving, this, that, and the other. But this particular sister in question didn't take it that way. All right. So now she stated, trying to say it was my sex game when you could have just asked for the money, broke ass, And so here we go with the insults and the sign language, the shame, insult, guilt, and the need to be right. Okay. So in regards to the next response, let me switch to this so you can see. I'm gonna put it on the bigger screen. Hopefully, make it a little easier for y'all. But so he said, wow, you're angry. I don't have Cash App, and I'm good on the money. Let's just leave this here. Accept being rejected and move on, shorty. And there she goes, speaking of shorty, and she puts up laughing emojis and the shrimp emoji. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna call you gay. I'm gonna come for your your penis and so forth. This is old hat. So his response was, okay. And so he gave her a Cash App, a Cash App ID. And the Cash App ID reads, your sex game is trash. That's my Cash App. And so, you know, when it's really bothersome now because the low hanging fruit. I showed the video earlier. Women still twerking and doing these, challenges to R. Kelly music and so forth. It's not appealing. Brothers ain't even peeping for that right now. And there's a whole sector on YouTube right now that are having conversations with women talking about leveling up, getting their education, getting their money on. The problem is those same women want a specific type of man. These men, these brothers ain't looking for that shit. They don't even know those channels exist anymore. They don't pay attention. They ain't peeping it. It's just a large cheering section of women sharing the same and trauma building experience. They're not getting anything out of it, and it's all cat. You know what I'm saying? So I went on Facebook and I asked a question on Facebook. And the question I asked on Facebook was, I'm going to get to it in a second, because I have so many, I get tagged in so much on, the irony, my Facebook page has more to do with the people who tag me and stuff than actually anything I put on Facebook anymore, because I'm barely on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? I'm barely on Facebook. What the fuck? So because I'm barely on Facebook, the I get tagged in things that I get tagged in videos and things of that nature that I didn't that I didn't actually put up. Hold on, I'm trying to get the screen right, y'all. Hold on. And if anybody ever goes to my page, you'll see that I'm equal opportunity when it comes to who I come for. But I try my best not to say too much, because I'm really not trying to get into too much. All right. So I asked this question. Ladies, when you find a man that takes care of everything financially, what will you do with your time and resources? Time, money, and resources, right? Okay. Let's see what the ladies had to say. And, I'm going to go to the most relevant and just work my way down. All right. So Felicia Forbes says, "Oh, so he bakes the cake. I take care of the frosting and the cherry on top. But seriously, saving for our future and kids are tight. The kids are tight. Maintaining things not to further financially impact. Avoid late fees. Administrate money properly. And hold on. And I'm chefing my ass off, recipe after recipe, because I'm so grateful, because not every man is willing, or I got not every man, is willing or able." All right. I thought that was fair. And let me see. All right. So now we have, oh my God, hold up. And I got too many people commenting. So bottom line is, and we got too much going on that page, so I'm just going to jump off of that. But the bottom line is, y'all, we definitely have too many situations where, because a lot of the other questions that came up were similar to that, and a lot of the brothers were calling cap on that particular discussion. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the brothers were calling cap. And I can't argue with them, because, what we've seen on social media versus what we've experienced have been totally different experiences. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm extremely fortunate, and I am extremely happy in my relationship. But the things that I've seen prior to, the situations that I've had to counsel brothers through, does not speak to that. And I've talked to brothers that are in long-term marriages. I've talked to brothers who, in those situations, you know what I mean? But that particular, and what I should have did is screenshot of some of the comments and things of that nature. But one brother in particular said, I need to see receipts before I accept any of these answers because it all feels like cap. And that's currently, that's probably what we're dealing with. So what we got going on, I want to make sure I got all this stuff out because typically I don't even write shit down. But the reason why we're seeing this soft touch, soft femininity movement and things of that nature is because, as the great Kevin Samuels stated, winter is here. And we're seeing now women work 4, 5, 6 different jobs now. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, the same women that will brag about being an RN and brag about, doing all these other things to maintain her expensive lifestyle by herself, where she's living in a luxury apartment where the rent has just doubled, where she's living in a community where the cost of living has increased dramatically. The money she was bringing in before does not cover the bills. So now she's out doing other things. She might be your Uber driver, Uber Eats. She might be the person delivering your Amazon now. In a lot of cases, these sisters are living out of their cars. And that's not a laughing matter. It's just stating the facts. Some video vloggers are actually out there promoting, living in their car, living in, having their clothes in storage and living in storage and having 24-hour gym memberships and things of that nature. Every once in a while getting a hotel room and so forth. Listen, that is not that is not an easy way to live. First and foremost, with all the threats coming to Black women, and see, this is another reason why we're starting to see this soft movement. I'm gonna play something for y'all, but I can't play the video because YouTube copyright. But I want y'all to hear about something that happened. And what I'll do is I'll put the link in the conversation so that y'all can watch the video later. But I want y'all to hear something from the Roland Martin Network. And I got to mute my channel for a second, but I want y'all to hear this. So I want y'all to pay attention to what you hear. And like I said, I'm about to put this in the chat. This is the biggest reason as to why you're starting to see a soft movement for Black women as they migrate back towards Black men.
A Black South Carolina homeowner cutting her grass was threatened by her white neighbor and his son, who shouted racial slurs and yelled that he would murder her. I'm not making this up, folks. You'll only see the story on Roland Martin unfiltered, and luckily for Shirley Ann Montgomery, it was caught on video, and we have that video. Take a look.
That's right. I'm gonna let it play a little while longer. Like I said, the entire video I just shared in the chat. But hold tight, y'all. I want y'all to hear this next exchange. And just to give you an update before it gets to it, this is a woman who is cutting her grass, mowing her lawn, but there's no clear boundary lines between her and the neighbor right across from her backyard. This is in Columbia, South Carolina.
Jesus, I refuse what I do. Well, I'm not in your yard. Leave me alone. Do not talk to me. Call the damn police. Leave me alone, okay? I don't know what you. I don't. Listen to me, son. Listen to me. You listen to me. You listen to me. Don't talk to me. If you cannot talk to me right, do. But leave me alone. Period, sir. Call the police. I have pictures. I don't care what you got. I don't care. You damaged my yard. I don't care what you got. Okay? Hey, I got proof. I don't care what you got. Go file your police report. Go do whatever you need to do. But I tell you what, you better cut the tree from the yard then, okay? Yeah, it is. It's leaning over. You cut my outside, okay? You don't shut the fuck up with your ass, bitch! No, I will murder you! Okay? And I got you on camera saying it too. Think I give a shit. Okay? Stay the fuck out of my grass! Okay? Hey! You know what? Stupid ass motherfucker. You know what? I'm not gonna even deal with y'all. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm not gonna deal with you or your demons. Go inside. Not gonna deal with you or your demons. You hate because you can't even afford for yourself. Get out my yard, sir. Get away from me, please. I'm asking you to get away from me. I'm asking you not to talk to me. I don't have anything to cut your trees away from the yard. How about that? Okay, you got everyone. Okay, so ma'am, I am being harassed by my neighbor. I've been threatened by my neighbor. I have it on camera. I'm cutting my yard out here in Lake Carolina. I'm not going to be harassed by this white man, by anybody else. I'm minding my business. I'm not going to be bothered. I'm not going to be harassed.
And so that's right. The biggest reason we're starting to see the fallback right now is because black women, a lot of single black women, in particular black women who follow this anti-black misandry, they thought that white men would come in to rescue them. They've been hearing from white men that will take better care than you than your men. They've been hearing from white men will protect you and this, that, and the other. But what they didn't realize is that, or didn't remember, historically speaking, that white men were the number 2 killers of black women behind white women historically in this particular country. And that the disdain that most white men have for black women. You know, and that is the biggest reason we're seeing behind this push. And, you know, my brother Patrick Irvin wrote a book, The Chasm. In his book, and I was looking for it, I think, is this it? This might be, no, this is not his book. I'm saying. So I wanted to have it out. But in his book, he talks about the fact that as black families, and Sister Crystal, you brought it up in the chat, black families, historically, the black man has never truly been the breadwinner except for a short period of time in this country. You might have, particular communities. None of these communities lasted more than 10, 15 years. But in particular, most black men couldn't work. There were vagrancy laws that were put into place. There were, grandfather laws and that were put in policies put into place. Black men couldn't work. They used that. They used the fact that if you were homeless as a black man, that was an arrestable offense. So most black men couldn't work. So black men, what they particularly did was they put their skilled labor to work. They would do things like build the house. They would become farmers. That's why black people didn't suffer as much as everybody else during the Great Depression in 1929. What you had was black women, and black women would typically go into the white houses in the white neighborhoods, and black women would work in the house. They would raise the white children. They would clean up the houses. They would pretty much become midwives and maids and servants in those particular houses and so forth. So therefore, they would be the ones making the bread, making the money. When it came to colleges and things of that nature, the first institutions that actually had black people in those institutions, not predominantly HBCUs, but there were some HBCUs with teacher colleges and nursing schools. And that's where black women would become the professionals. Black men were always considered the blue collar labor force. Black men were always the agricultural force, the skilled labor force, and so forth. Owning companies, plumbing companies, lumber companies, and things of that nature. But in terms of actual financial capital, black men were never considered the true breadwinner in terms of those houses. Now, in terms of the last, half a century, you know what I'm saying? Black men got into the workforce, and black men took on more blue collar jobs, more dangerous jobs. The mortality rate for men at work compared to women is astronomical when you look at the fact that in terms of the types of jobs, and that's where you get the whole concept behind the wealth gap, or the wage gap, which there is no real wage gap between the genders. Now you can argue between the races, but you can't argue between the genders. And as black men and black women, if we both get the same job, typically we're going to both make the same amount of money. All right. But sisters, and this is not me saying this from a place of vengefulness or from a place of anger, things like that. I am just reporting the news. As I said before, I'm like the canary in the coal mine. It's too late for a lot of black women, unfortunately. Excuse me. It's too late. It is too late to get black men back on board. After all the years of hearing about black men, you don't do this. Black men, I'm gonna go down the list again. Black men, we're scrubs. Black men, we're defeated. We're the lowest ranking man amongst all the other races of men. Black men, you're bullet bags. We enjoy watching you getting shot by cops. Black men, you're disposable. We don't need you for nothing but sex and provision. Black men, you don't build anything. All the races of men build stuff. Black men, you're the only one that don't build things. And having to hearing that over and over again, deadbeat fathers, things of that nature, after hearing that over and over again, and then just to have that simple apology, I want to be a softer woman. You can't just learn to be a softer woman. You have to be retrained. Your mindset has to be retrained. That takes years. Femininity school and things of that nature, I don't think that shit works. It's either in you or it's not. My mother was one of the toughest women I ever met. But if you ever met my mother, she didn't show a shred of masculinity. Not one shred of masculinity. When she got angry, but even when she was angry, you could still see her femininity. You don't see that in today's black woman. And like you told black men to get their acts together. Well, brothers have gotten their acts together. And here's the bad part, sisters. Most of the brothers that are talking about getting passports, most of the brothers who are talking about, venturing out to other community and spaces and things of that nature, they're your sons. Because they don't want a woman that reminds them of their mother. This generation of black people, period, are not truly race loyal. They are so far removed from the moves of the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. We live in a different world. Now, I myself am a black nationalist. I truly understand that if we don't get our act together, I truly understand how this is going to turn out for us. But unfortunately, family, for too many of us, it's too little, too late. So I'm going to pull up. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And, I wish that we could, figure this thing out, family. Because if we don't figure this thing out, I gotta hurry up and mute this damn thing. This is about to start too soon. It started a little too soon, y'all. But I hope we figure this thing out. soon. Because if not, we don't have much time, family. With that, I bid you all peace and power. Ashe.